Welcome back everybody to Forza Horizon 4, and today we're doing another seasonal championship. This one's called Dirt Cheap, and yeah, we're in C-Class cars that cost 25,000 credits or less. So we should have a nice variety of cars for this, so yeah, I am looking forward to doing this. Like I said in one of the previous videos, even though the festival playlist is dropping support and you're going to see less and less new stuff from it, or no new stuff really at all from it, it's going to be about the seasonal championships that we have not done before, or you know, the kind of cars that we've not seen before. And I don't think we've done anything based around credits and a certain class at the same time. So yeah, this should be fun, and yeah, we're getting there in the Lean S1, which is my favourite vehicle of the last couple of playlists. And yeah, the second to last new vehicle added to the game. So let's see what races we're going to be doing and what cars we can get in.
There's a lot of people coming to watch this winter seasonal, you know. Go and give them a show.
So yeah, we've got a pair of Acuras here, basically Hondas but the Americanized versions. Then we've got a pair of Fords, one for Ford America and Ford Europe. Then 3 Hondas, 2 from the 90s and 1 from the late 2000s. Although the late 2000s Civic Type R is not my favourite. I certainly prefer the early 2000s version, but then I'm not a massive fan of the late 90s version either, though a lot of people are. Then the Jaguar XJS, which is a great car, as well as the Mazda RX-7, which again is a great car. A pair of Mitsubishis. The Galant is one of my favourite saloon cars from the 90s. Then 4 Nissans, 3 of which are basically the same, they just look different. They've got pretty much the same kind of power. And then the Nismo Sentra. Then got the Firebird, a Clio RS, a Legacy RS, another favourite 90s saloon car. Then a couple of hot hatchbacks. Well, I guess you could say the Corrado is more of a coupe, but yeah, both share the same engine. And then we've got the Volvo 850R. So yeah, we're going to play it a little bit safe for our first race, and yeah, I'm going to get in the RX-7. I know we've just recently taken this around the Nürburgring, but yeah, I really do enjoy this car. 200 horsepower from a 1.3 litre Wankel rotary engine with a turbocharger. Weighs just under 3,000 pounds, so it's not that heavy, and yeah, it's got really good handling and braking, and yeah, really good acceleration as well for a car that's only got 200 horsepower, and like I said, weighs nearly 3,000 pounds, which is obviously not the heaviest kind of weight that you can have out of a coupe from this kind of time period, but it's hardly a lightweight either. But yeah, the rotary engine should stand us in good stead. This is high revving, and it's got that turbocharger which is offering the additional torque that is necessary for an engine like this, because yeah, Wankel rotary engines that are naturally aspirated tend to have very little in the way of torque. So the turbocharger is obviously going to help in providing more of that. We've got a pair of all-wheel drive cars to choose from, so yeah, even though obviously this is more cross-country, probably mostly going to be dealing with rear-wheel drive, maybe a front-wheel drive car. We're struggling to gain many places here. Unsurprisingly, it's the more rally-orientated vehicles that are up front, the Escorts. Then again, they do weigh very little in comparison to this, and don't have all that much less in the way of power either. They're far more powerful than I ever expected them to be, because yeah, I had never really delved deep into those cars before they arrived on this game, so I was surprised by how potent they were. But I, at the end of the day, have the higher top speed, being the more modern vehicle, and having obviously the more horsepower. quite braking enough there. And the escort's caught us up. Go away, you. This is behaving surprisingly well on these off-road elements. Yeah, I really do love this car. I know at the time it probably seemed like a Porsche knockoff. Certainly wasn't priced very competitively, but yeah, still a great car, and yeah, gave us a good solid first place for our first race. So yeah, really impressed by the Mazda there, especially considering it was dealing with off-road elements. But yeah, regardless, let's get on to the second race. So for this next race, it's a circuit one, and yeah, we're also in the mud kickers area, so we are going to have to go for something all-wheel drive, but we have a few to choose from. We've got the Eclipse GSX, which has a decent amount of power and torque, but is quite weighty, but the Galant has even more in the way of power and torque and weighs less. And in comparison to the Subaru, it has even more power than that and also weighs less than that. So I think the Galant is the one to go for. It is a car that I really rather enjoy. So yeah, let's see what it can do. And yeah, even if you might think this looks a bit plain and boring, it's the car that made the basis up for the Mitsubishi Evo, because the engine and drivetrain were used out of this in the Evo, the first generation. So yeah, if this car wasn't a success, then yeah, the Evo may well not have existed in the form it was in its first generation. So yeah, it might look no way near as impressive as an Evo, but it's definitely one that had a lot of influence, especially within Mitsubishi themselves. So let's see if we can handle this rough stuff. Should do. The all-wheel drive system is really rather competent, so it's got four-wheel steering. At the time, even though it's probably not going to be coming in handy here, but at the time it had one of the most advanced traction control systems on any car. Although obviously the traction control system on this game is rather more basic, and yeah, hope for one day that we'll get one's traction control systems that simulate more real-life car systems. Because obviously there's plenty out there that have normal traction control, and then you can have like sport or race or track. It would be nice to have those different kind of variants on or at least different varying degrees of traction control on cars on these games. Who knows, that may well be a bit difficult to simulate, especially when it comes to you know, different road surfaces, and that most cars aren't really made to be going on in the first place. And then obviously, never mind any upgrades that you might well give it, tuning upgrades that you might well give it. So I can understand why they might not have that kind of thing in a game, but at least it's nice to have some kind of basic version of that, even if it's a bit more in the arcade side. You could definitely see something like that coming to a Forza Motorsport game, because obviously you're on the same kind of surface all the time, tarmac. Whereas, obviously, with these games you'd have to simulate mud, water, sand, gravel, anything like that really. So yeah, it would be nice to see something like that. I have plenty of ideas for these kind of games, but obviously I'm just a small YouTuber, so obviously no one's going to listen to me, but yeah, it would be nice to have such ideas implemented, or at least try to. All-wheel drive system on this car though is definitely helping us stay ahead of the competition. We have a huge lead at the moment. I think I need something like this for this course, because it is quite tough, even for a normal off-road vehicle, never mind a road car like this. Yeah, they are no way near. But it's one of the most convincing leads that we've had in a race on the seasonal championships by far. And purely because it had all-wheel drive. I didn't see any other all-wheel drive vehicles there, I don't think. Let's have a look. RX-7 is rear-wheel drive, Golf is front-wheel drive, Honda's a front-wheel drive, the Crown Victoria Jaguar are rear-wheel drive, Golf is, and Civics, yeah, everything there was either front-wheel drive or rear-wheel drive, so yeah, no wonder there that we had such a giant lead. Look, we had 11 seconds over the RX-7 in second, which is a huge margin, and yeah, now we have an 8-point lead in the championship overall. So yeah, extremely confident for the third and final race, so let's get there and see what happens. Right, so for this third and final race, we're on a point-to-point race again like we did in the first one. And yeah, I feel like going for an old favourite really, because we've chosen a couple of cars that I really rather enjoy, but yeah, this Corrado VR6 is easily one of my favourite cars that is out there to drive really. I think on the second game, or the third game, one or the other, but basically you had it as the first car that you drove on the game. You had this or something else to choose from, and yeah, this is the one I chose. Might have been the first game actually, but either way, yeah, it's a cracking car. Doesn't weigh all that much. It weighs less than the other two that we've chosen so far, and yeah, it still has 178 horsepower and yeah, 177 pounds-feet of torque from its 2.8 litre VR6 engine. So yeah, really enjoy this car. No, it's not the most perfect car. Yes, it's got a far larger engine than the power that it has. For something that's nearly 3 litres, you'd expect it to have more power, but yeah, quite frankly, the fact that they've got this kind of engine in a small car like this is fine by me. And this was one of the first, if not the first car to have a automatic deploying rear wing, as you'll see in a second. Comes up at a certain rate of speed, there we go. So yeah, revolutionary in that kind of regard. Pretty much every you know, fast sports car has those now. And yeah, it's a nice high revving V6 as well, or VR6. If you don't know why it's called that, then look it up, because it is an interesting kind of engine design. But regardless, we are gaining positions. So we have more power than most here. Talbot Sunbeam next to us. Yes, it is. Get out of the way. Yeah, that's one of the few rear-wheel drive hot hatchbacks from back in the day. No match for my VR6 power. Although surprisingly, the Fiat 124 is. Obviously, some of these cars have been upgraded to get into C-Class, but there are plenty of cars to choose from that are 25,000 credits or less. Which is again one of the nice things about this game. You wouldn't expect some of these cars to be that cheap, but thankfully they are. So it means that when you do get into this game for the first time, even if you're not getting VIP super wheel spins, or you know, have a lot of money put into your bank automatically, or cars that are already in there in your garage, you still have a really good variety of vehicles to choose from that are extremely cheap to buy, and ones that aren't particularly even slow either. So just got the Jaguar to beat now. Now that has more power and torque than we do with its massive V12 engine, but it also has a lot more in the way of weight, and being rear-wheel drive on these kind of surfaces might well put it at a disadvantage. But it is at the end of the day hard to argue with the kind of power it's got. It's got about 120 horsepower more than we do. A lot more in the way of torque. We are better handling. We have the better gearbox because we're a manual, even though I'm not using the manual. Because yeah, that has quite long automatic gears on that, which are hindering it. Hopefully, come on. Sneak it up the inside. Yeah, there we go. I love your Jaguar, but I am winning this. Looks like the Fiat is coming up beside him as well. yeah, the Fiat and the Jaguar were extremely close together, but we had more than half a second between us and the second place, and even though we obviously only stuck up the inside right at the last minute. But regardless, that's given us 20 points and given us a full 60. 14 points ahead of the Fiat, which came in third in that race just then, and then, yeah, 22 points ahead of the Escort, 26 points ahead of the Jaguar that came in second place then, and, yeah, 28 points ahead of another Escort. So yeah, a really enjoyable different kind of championship there. To have a price tag on a certain class of car is yeah, really rather interesting. I wish they'd do it with more higher class cars, to be honest, you know, like 100,000 credit limit or 200,000 limit on credit on some, like, you know, S1 class cars or A class cars or something like that. But regardless, yeah, fun race, and at the end of the day you get a really expensive classic racer in the form of the Mercedes-Benz 300 SLR. So yeah, if you haven't got that car, then this championship is well worth doing it, but even if you haven't, again, it's still a fun championship to do. Nonetheless, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.